Yo, what's up internet? Today we're gonna talk about how I made my track called Memory. So if you wanna see how I made it, let's roll into it. And boom, we're starting in the build-up already. So I did this on purpose. I have a build-up here and I have a build-up there. So I didn't want an extra long intro because we're building up twice, you know? So here's the first build-up. So this is my vocal. Let me find my way. I'm not the best singer or anything, but if you sing with a good microphone, if you have the nice tuning stuff like auto-tune and you make nice chords like this, over and over again, I think almost everybody can sing on their own records. So don't fool yourself. If you can sing a little bit, try it, you know? Like, you don't have to sing a whole song, like crazy lyrics and stuff. This is just me doing 4 phrases, and that worked for me. Like, that really made the song, in my opinion. So for the build-up, this is a hardstyle kick with some leads. Nothing too crazy, and the leads are over here, which I then used again for the second build-up, as you can see, but this time in full force. So I have some of these leads that I use in the intro, but I made them lo-fi, and then over here they're there as a full thing, you know? So how did I make the lead? Well, there's a lot of layers, and it's just presets from like house leads and stuff that I like. And then some to the left, some to the right. And then when you combine all of them, you know, so it doesn't have to be crazy. You can do this with any synth. I use Spyro for this instance, but you can use this with any synth. Just layer a lot of leads and eventually it will sound really nice. Then it's all thrown into a group with some processing, distortion, OTT. And then we have a hardstyle kick for the build-up again. And I use that with a frequency shifter to pitch up, which gives that rising effect. Some extra drums and stuff. And then, as you can hear or not, I don't know, but something I really like is this part. So I really want to show you how I made the distortion on this vocal. So what I did is I got a sine wave, so just a sub in the root node, and then I filtered that in like that, like a volume automation, put the vocal and the sub together in a group and distorted that. Then I bounced that out and threw it back into my project, so that's why I can't show it right now. And then remove the sub again, but then you're still stuck with that distortion from that sub, because if you distort the vocal with sub together, you get a different distortion effect. While if you would just throw distortion on a vocal without sub, the distortion on the vocal will get very harsh, you know, will ruin your ears. So that's why I like to distort with a sub or with a ring mod, something like that. Find my way to you. You can tell it's like, yeah, you know, I really like that, and it gives so much more tension before the drop hits. So let's go into the drop. A lot of crunch, a lot of distortion. So what I did here is I bounced the leads again, like lead one shots. And I got a random just for the right growl. Doesn't sound anything like the final product. I just use it for the input of a vocoder or a morph thing. Doesn't really matter what you use, but you use the leads and you use the growl as the sidechain or the input, whatever you want to call it, and then blend them together and you get something like this. And I did the same, but with the leads an octave up and a different harmony, I think. Right, yeah. And I used that at first as a A-B, as a variation, but by happy accident I played them both together. And I thought that sounds pretty good, so I kind of stuck with that. And yeah, then I got this, some little like quick saw sharp, you know, stabs to make the groove, and then accentuated that with some more clicks. If you would like to help me, please consider liking and subscribing. You don't have to, but it would help me a lot, and that way I can make more videos like this. And then we have the main bass basically is just a lot of sine waves with distortion and white noise and stuff, and they all go into a group, being distorted again and again and again. So it's like a lot of stages of distortion instead of having one distortion doing a lot. And distort two things together, just like I explained with the vocal. When you have the vocal, you put a sine wave next to it, you put it both in a group, you distort it, you get a different effect. So, for instance, we have this thing here, which is just a sine wave with some noise and a shitload of processing. Some distortion here as well. Some shaping. I made it stereo with that, and then textures, adding even more white noise. Flutter, this is some sort of like ring mod thing, which uses the sub to ring mod the sound. So let me over accentuate it. So when the sub is playing, it affects the amount of, I think it's ring modding on this sound, basically. Which almost sounds like distortion, but it works in a different way. But you can, you know, fool around with that, like use whatever processing you like and distort it together, basically. So I had that, I bounced it out, and then I threw reverb on top of it, and then distorted that again, which resulted in some sort of like techno rumble, which is that. And as you can tell, the sub is still in there, and the sub is stereo. Which I want to keep on purpose because I like the effect of that, you know. So instead of having the whole drop with a stereo sub, I have an original sub, which is mono. And then that side chains between the techno rumble, and like I shaped it in a way so that it's not conflicting with the original sub, but then together. You know, so... And then with everything together, so the main sounds from the more thing, the sub, the distortion, the articulation from the clicks and all that stuff, you'll get this. So that's why it does. You don't have to have the ultimate preset, you know, like one bass that sounds crazy sick. Like you have in this drop, for instance, you have multiple ingredients that all complement each other and eventually make it sound really big. Well, if you just listen to any sound on its own, it's not too crazy, but you know, everything together adds up. So over here, that sound, that is the lead exported but dry, and then I chopped it up and got some panning left and right and all this stuff, and bit crushing. Got rid of all the other reverbs at that point, and then when it goes back into the drop, you have this like huge contrast, you know. So it's like, so you have big leads and all that stuff, and then downgraded, bit crushed leads, and then back into the drop. So, you know, so I really like the contrast in there. So yeah, that is kind of like the drop, but it's also a build-up again, and that's what I really like to do with this track. It's like constantly fooling the crowd when they listen to it, thinking, oh, it's gonna drop or it's dropping, but no, there's another build-up, oh, there's another drop, oh, there's another drop, you know, to keep it go crazy and crazy and crazy. So here's the next build-up. And then when you think it's gonna drop, there's another build-up. So let's go into the next build-up. So instead of dropping here, what you would expect, there's another build-up. And then it goes into that drop, which is basically a sine wave completely crushed with white noise, and I put it up on like +6 and then the master on +8, and then I put a limiter on there, and then I made it clip on purpose. Bounce it out in a WAV file, I think. Oh no, MP3, because then it has the clipping of the MP3. And then I put that back into the project. So this is like, it doesn't make any sense sound engineering wise, but that results into this sound. And as you can tell, it's still a sub. It's just sub with white noise and some distortion, but the clipping and, you know, everything that gives the ultimate sound. So with this, yeah, I made something clip on the master on purpose, but then put it back into the project so I could like have full control over it again and like shape it, have sidechain and everything. So that's the main sound. And then that's layered and accompanied by other layers. Like that is for the groove. And then we have some more clicks, right? Some crunch for the bass. It's very subtle and deliberate, but you know, that really works. And then over here again, there's the lead one shot with the automated reverb. So you have the very deep part of the drop where it's just the sine wave and the sub, and then the lead comes in, and then you have some high frequencies again. So that's the contrast again, like the A and B in the track. And then again, I think it's the same flip, but I just added the vocal, and then I made the vocal follow the lead feel almost, you know. So I think that's quite nice. And then the kick snare pattern comes back in. And then we're there already. I think that's the end of the song. So I hope you learned something from this. It was really fun to make this track and to sing myself. I hope you learned something. I hope you liked the track, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace!